Welcome into the Friday Night Locker Room Show, presented by Space Coast Daily. Joined by, we got a four-man crew here today. We got Steve Wilson down in the end for the Friday Night Locker Room, Orville Susan, and Alan Schlotterzinski is joined by us here today. Guys, Viera had a great win last week, heading to the state championship. You guys were there. We'll start off with Steve. Maybe your first take from the last weekend and Viera's win.
First take, excitement. It is one of the most exciting games I've ever seen, period. I include state championship games that we've covered. You know, we left Brevard County early afternoon, made about a half a dozen stops before we got to Lake City. And I think at every stop we saw somebody from Viera. We saw a lot of green. Just the excitement was building. By the time we got to Lake City, the atmosphere was incredible. The support that the Hawks received, and I'm not talking about on the football field, but off the football field, was amazing. 9 buses, 2 of the buses were football players, but 7 fan buses. The home side was packed, as you would expect from Lake City. The visiting side was jam-packed. It was just, and that kind of set the tone for the entire game.
Orville?
I agree with Steve a lot there. I also took the fact of determination. Walked out on the field before the game talking to some of the coaches and stuff, and everybody had the same thread of thought. We're here to do a job. We're going to put on our helmet with our little lunch bucket, and we're going to go to work. And we're going to dismantle this building that's in front of us, and we're going to do it the right way. We're going to do it being bigger, stronger, faster, and we're going to do it the way the coaches have started. This didn't start this year. This started last year when Viera lost 46-0 in the first playoff game of last year. The first playoff game in school history. Kevin Mays, I think, and his staff sat down then and said, we have to make some changes. We have to get a little bit different attitude. We have to get a little bit tougher. We got to get a little more determination and dedication to this program. I really believe that that's where it started, and it's carried through. And I think the Viera Hawks coaching staff, administration, student body, and especially the team has done a wonderful job taking on that concept.
Alan, we had a couple of Viera players here this past weekend, and we had Hayden Kingston, Jay Boyd, and Trey Nixon. Maybe what's your takeaway from this past weekend and their interviews that we had on our show, Mountain Off Sports Talk?
Well, I think Orville hit the nail on the head. The job that these kids went up there and did with the coaching staff, the supreme air of confidence that these kids had, not cockiness, but confidence that these kids had, was something I took away from this. They had a job to do, and they went up and they did it. And these are great kids with great character, and that's important at this level.
All right, guys, well, let's talk about the actual game. They're going to be taking on St. Thomas Aquinas. We'll start off with Alan. Maybe some of your keys to the game for this weekend.
Yeah, look, this is Viera continues to play these tradition-rich schools. St. Thomas Aquinas, another one, 8 state championships, 30 district titles. They need to continue to do what they're doing, and that step on that football field. They won't be intimidated by St. Thomas Aquinas. They weren't by Columbia. They weren't by Lakeland. They need to get in there, do what Viera does best. Put the ball in the air. Run the ball a little bit to complement that passing game. That secondary, fantastic so far in the playoffs. Continue to play great in that secondary. Jay Boyd and company have done a great job. Marco Foreman coming off the edge. I wouldn't change anything at this point. I would continue to do what's got them to this point.
Orville, your keys to the game.
Alan, I'm going to refer back to what he just said that I hit the nail on the head. Same thing. The cowboy gets on the horse and he rides out into the sunset, and that's the way that they've learned. That's the way they've practiced. That's the way they've prepared for these other games. And I think I talked about 46-0 in the defeat last year. I think a lot of this started again when Steve and I in the Friday Night Locker Room did the Martin County game against Viera down in Martin County. 4 or 5 passes weren't caught. They decided, early in the ball game, and they started letting DePlanky and Trevor Merritt run the ball. And all of a sudden things opened up. That's one of the things that I look at through the season that helped them. Another one is the Viera Hawks hung 42 points on one of the most toughest teams in Brevard County, and that's the Cocoa Tigers. There's nobody put up 42 points on Cocoa in 8 or 9 years from Brevard County. So I think that's a big thought right there to look at. The third thing, back to Martin County again. In football especially, it's tough to beat the same team twice.
Yeah.
And they When Martin County came to Viera, Viera did it handedly. I think that added to that confidence level. He said not cocky. I think it's good to be a little cocky in the sporting world. Just takes you up one more notch and gives you something more to play with. Demand better things from the guy on the line next to you. If you're a guard, talk to the tackle. Make him be a better guy. If you can do as good as I am doing, we're going to be great. And that's some of the things that I think they look at. And then to beat a great team like the Lakeland Dreadnoughts. They're powerhouse year after year after year. Steve and I went over there and covered them 15 years ago, and they did the same thing. They were just a big powerhouse team. Every week there's more confidence. And to go up there and bring 500 to 1,000 people, think about what the Citrus Bowl is going to look like. 3 hours away, 1,000 people, 45 minutes away, Brevard County is going to be empty. And I think that's great, because we saw people up there that weren't Viera residents. They were Cocoa Beach residents, Titusville residents, Palm Bay. Everybody's wanting Viera to put Brevard County back on the map in a state football championship, and I think it's going to happen Friday night.
Steve, keys to the game.
Yeah, I don't think there are any surprises or secrets. I think you want to win the battle at the line of scrimmage. It's not going to be easy against the Raiders. They're a big, strong, tough team. But I think the Hawks have to do the little things, and that's what they did last week. When the opportunities are there, they need to take advantage of them. Evan Cruz had 2 picks. Jay Boyd, Alan, you talked about, had a pick. Will Champion, the secondary is playing phenomenal. With Matt Martorelli and Foreman getting some kind of rush, to rush the quarterback a little bit. St. Thomas Aquinas can throw the football and they can run. They do a little bit of everything, and that's concerning. But the Hawks need to just do the little things. They need to wrap up, they need to tackle, and that's one thing they're good at. They're very well coached. From the youth program on, I was talking to somebody the other day, they asked me, how has Viera gotten so good so quick? And I said, look at their youth program. I said, it's one of the best in Brevard County. Their JV team hasn't lost a football game in 2 years. Their varsity is in the state championship Friday. They just do the little things well. They're very well coached. Offensively, they are a tough football team. Somebody made the comment the other day, Viera does not pass the bus test, which means they get off the bus, you know, who are these guys?
Yeah.
St. Thomas Aquinas gets off the bus, that's a football team.
Yeah.
But that has no meaning. I think they're tough. Kingston showed that Friday night twice. He got hit real hard, Alan. I wasn't so sure he was going to get up either time, and he did. Running the football is going to be key. How strong is DePlanky going to be? Last week it didn't matter. Jay Boyd came in. Trevor Merritt ran the football well. But I fall back to taking advantages of what St. Thomas Aquinas is going to give you. They're not going to give you a lot, but what the Hawks did last week when they picked those 4 passes, they didn't necessarily score after every pass, but they held onto the football long enough where their opponent didn't have the ball. So, Viera has a shot this week, and we're going to talk in a few minutes about who we think is going to win the game. But if the Hawks continue to play like they have played the last few weeks since the break, there's no reason why they can't succeed Friday night.
Like Orville mentioned, this game is going to be at the Citrus Bowl on Friday against St. Thomas Aquinas. We're going to go on to the predictions now. We got Orville with the first. Who's your prediction?
I get to say first. Well, I tell you what, I gave it away just a few minutes ago. I honestly believe that the Viera Hawks started, and I really believe the Viera Hawks are going to win this ballgame. And real quick, something that we haven't mentioned, quarterback last week for Columbia, over 3,200 yards, 3 down linemen. That guy ran for his life all night long. That kid, after throwing 3,200 yards, got happy feet, and he threw the ball. Viera intercepted 4 times, should have had 6. They dropped 2, but I like them. And it's a thing. If you're old enough to know, the Blues Brothers was on a mission from God, okay? I think the Viera Hawks are on a mission to prove to Brevard County and Central Florida that the Viera Hawks are not a fluke, that Viera football is for real. I'll take the Hawks.
Steve, prediction.
That's a tough one. On paper, it's the Raiders without question. They beat Booker T. Washington by 32. They beat Dwyer when they were ranked number 1 in the state. They beat Hallandale, Braden River. You can go on and on, but as we all know, the game's not played on paper. I love the Hawks. They do the little things. They do things the right way. They're not going to be intimidated by St. Thomas Aquinas. They went to Allen, Texas, played in front of 20,000 people. They will not be intimidated. I think somehow the Hawks are going to find the right combination, and they're going to do things that people never thought they would do Friday night, and they're going to be the Class 7A state champions.
2 home teams going with Viera. Who do you got?
Let's make it a clean sweep here.
Yeah,
The
trifecta.
Look, the most difficult team Viera played all year long isn't going to be the team they line up against Friday night. That team was in Allen, Texas. That's the most difficult team they played all year long. I'll take Hayden Kingston, Trey Nixon, Marco Foreman, Jay Boyd over the Michael Irvin Juniors, the Asante Samuel Juniors from St. Thomas Aquinas this week. Yeah, I like the Viera Hawks to win this thing, and I like them to pull away a little bit at the end.
All right, well, we got all Viera here. So that was the Friday Night Locker Room Show. Once again, you can hear this game on spacecoastdaily.com. The guys are going to be on the call for that game. Should be an exciting one. We'll have play-by-play coverage and a bunch of other videos available at the ready. For Zach Clark and the guys from the Friday Night Locker Room, thank you for watching.